Hi there, my name is Gillian and welcome back to my channel. In a couple of my videos, I mentioned that a few years ago I wrote my first book, self-published it, and it became very successful. In fact, it became an international bestseller within just the first few weeks. Ever since I mentioned that, I've gotten a lot of questions about it, and so in today's video, I'm going to be explaining exactly how I got my first book published and why I chose to go the self-publishing route rather than the traditional publishing route. So when I decided that I wanted to write my first book, of course I started doing a lot of research about how I could eventually get it published, and I looked into both traditional publishing and self-publishing, and I tried to evaluate all the pros and the cons of each of the options. And honestly, what I found kind of surprised me. Basically, what I learned was that with a traditional publishing deal, you could make anywhere from a couple dollars for every book that's sold up to maybe about $6 for every book that's sold, and a lot of it comes down to how successful and how popular you are when you get the book deal. Basically, if you're already a celebrity, then the publishing company knows that marketing your book is going to be pretty easy, and they know that there will be several different companies who are interested in publishing for you, and so they need to give you a competitive offer. So in that situation, you'd probably get a higher offer, like $5 or $6 per book. And they also would probably try to incentivize you to go with their company by offering you a pretty big advance that might be paid even before you start writing or before your book is published. But on the other hand, if you're a new author and you're relatively unknown, if you don't have a big following on social media, or you're not some sort of celebrity or a well-known expert in whatever field you're going to be writing on, then the publishing companies are not going to give you nearly as good of an offer. Often, if these offers do include an advance at all, it's only a few $1,000, and they will only offer you a few dollars for every book that is sold. Now, when I wrote my first book, that was definitely the position that I was in. I did not have a following of any sort. I don't even have very many friends or family. Like, I don't have a very big personal network even. So I was definitely in the position of being a completely unknown author. I'd never written a book before. I didn't have a successful blog or really anything to speak of. Now, in order to get a traditional publishing deal, unless you're already a well-known celebrity or expert who has people coming to them and offering them book deals, you have to spend a lot of time pitching either publishing companies or else pitching agents and trying to convince them to pitch you to publishing companies. It's an extremely time-intensive process and a whole lot of work. Now, of course, there is absolutely nothing wrong with putting in some hard work to get something you really want, but when I looked at the pros and cons between traditional publishing and self-publishing, I realized that either way I was going to have to put in some work somewhere, but with self-publishing, my work was probably going to have a more significant effect on the end results. Let me explain what I mean. So I already talked about traditional publishing, but let's talk about self-publishing now. So with self-publishing, you're completely responsible for the ultimate success of your book. You're responsible for getting it edited well and going with a good self-publishing company that does a good job, and for marketing and promoting your book. The reason that a traditional publishing company pays the authors so little per book is because they have to spend a lot of man hours and a lot of money promoting your book. When you go the self-publishing route, there are now a lot of companies that do something called print on demand, and what that means is that they only print individual copies of your book whenever someone wants to buy one of them. So it used to be that if you wanted to self-publish, you had to save up a bunch of money so that you could buy, say, 1,000 copies of your book, and then you would try to sell that 1,000 copies. But now you can work with a self-publishing company and effectively self-publish your book and just print 1 or 2 copies, and then whenever someone orders your book, say on Amazon or on barnesandnoble.com, the print-on-demand company just immediately prints the copy of your book that they already have all set up and ready to go. It's completely formatted, like they've taken care of everything in advance, so their machine just prints the book and then ships it. And in case you're wondering, this doesn't really add any amount of time to the process of the customer getting the book, because the print-on-demand company, if it's a good self-publishing company, they do this really fast, so it's like a one-day process. They're shipping your book out pretty much just as fast as a company that already had the book in stock would be able to. Now, you might think that having each book printed one at a time would make it a lot more expensive, but because of advances in technology, they're actually able to do this really efficiently now. And so if you're selling your book for, let's say, $14 on Amazon, then you are normally getting at least about a third of that cost. So you're getting about $5, and then basically the platform that's selling your book, say Amazon, if there's a platform that's promoting your book and giving you a marketplace, that platform will normally get about $5. And then the self-publishing printing company will also get about a third, so about $5. Now, of course, if you choose to sell your book for a lot less or a lot more money, then those numbers could look fairly different, but the thing that decides how much the printing company gets is actually the physical specs of the book, so how big the book is, how many pages are in it, how tall is it, how wide is it, and different options that you can add, like if you have color illustrations. That's what determines how much they get for actually printing your book. And then Amazon, I think, always gets about a third, and then you effectively get whatever is left over. So in my case, I sell my book for about $15, and it's the numbers that I already ran over. I get $5 or $6 myself, Amazon gets $4 or $5, and the printing company gets $4 or $5. So when I looked at the numbers and I looked at, I could either get basically $5 or $6 for sure from a self-publishing company per book sold, or I could go the traditional route. I could invest a lot of time and effort up front and then probably only be able to get $2 or $3 per book. It was clear which one was going to pay more per book. But then the big question was, well, which route is going to allow me to sell more books? Because of course, if I could sell 100 books if I self-published and make, $500, $600, or I could sell 1,000 books if I went the traditional publishing route and make $2,000 or $3,000, not only is that more money, but it also means that I get a bigger audience and I get my books into more people's hands. And so then the next step was figuring out, would I be able to sell an equivalent number of books if I self-published as if I got a traditional publishing deal? Now, of course, I ended up going the self-publishing route, and so I can't know for sure what would have happened if I had gotten a traditional publishing deal, but I do know that after researching strategies on how to market my book very well the self-publishing way, I was able to turn it into an international bestseller. And at this point, about 2 years down the road, I've sold about 20,000 copies of the book, which is really good for a first-time author. Whether you decide to go the self-publishing route or the traditional publishing route, you really can't know exactly what's going to happen. Some traditional publishing companies do amazing jobs of promoting their books, but most tend to put the bulk of their advertising dollars towards the books that they know are going to do really well, which are normally the books that were written by someone who's already something of a celebrity. There are some traditional publishing companies that do a great job of getting first-time authors out there, but it's really a mixed bag. And if you want to go that route, that's a totally viable option. I'm just saying research the company that you're considering signing a book deal with before you just sign it because, oh wow, they want to give me a book deal. I chose to go the self-publishing route because when I looked at the time and effort involved and the potential monetary gain either way, I saw that I could either invest my time and my effort into marketing my book myself, or I could invest my time and effort into trying to convince a publishing company to publish my book. Each option had its upsides and its downsides, but the thing that attracted me to self-publishing was not only did it seem like they were kind of equitable in the amount of money I might be able to make and the amount of people I might be able to reach with my book and the amount of time I probably would have to invest, but with the self-publishing route, I knew one thing for sure, and that was I knew for sure that my book was going to get published. And to be entirely honest, for my first book, that was my biggest goal. I didn't expect it to be a huge success, and it wasn't the culmination of my career or my life's work or anything like that. I just wanted to get my first book out in the world, share my ideas with some people, and successfully do that. So I chose to go the self-publishing route because I knew I could put in a minimal amount of time and effort and certainly get published, and then I could invest more and more time and effort if I wanted to help it become more and more successful. The traditional publishing route just had a lot more unknowns. I could have invested hundreds of hours trying to get published and never gotten picked up by a publishing company. And then if I had gotten a publishing deal, it might have been better or it might have been worse than what I could do with self-publishing. So that just basically explains why I chose to go with self-publishing instead of traditional publishing. But I'm not saying that traditional publishing is bad. I'm just saying that both have their upsides and their downsides, their pros and their cons, and you really have to think about your objectives for your first book, like why are you writing this book, what are you hoping to get out of it, and you just have to figure out which option most closely aligns with your goals and will help you to accomplish the goals that you have for that book the most effectively. Okay, well that's all I have for you today, but I hope you enjoyed that and you found it interesting. If so, please give it a thumbs up to let me know that you liked it and so more people can find this video. And please leave me a comment down below. Let me know, have you ever written a book? Are you planning to write a book? What's your book going to be about? And do you think you'll go the self-publishing route or the traditional publishing route? Oh, and if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do that because I make 2 videos every single week about intentional living, entrepreneurship, and success, and I would love to have you join me for the next one.
I've got one more thing that I just want to share with you before you go. If you are planning to self-publish your book, then I would like to invite you to join me for the bestseller book launch workshop. This is a workshop that I taught live just a couple of months ago online, and you can now purchase the recording of the workshop along with the workbook. So in this workshop, I break down the 9 steps that I took that allowed me to create some pretty incredible results for my very first book as a brand new author. So if you're interested in learning all about how I did this and how I've helped a number of clients at this point successfully launch their books as well, then just click the link down in the description bar below. It's just gillianperkins.com/bestseller book launch workshop, and you'll be taken to this page here where you can sign up for the workshop. After you sign up, you'll get an email that gives you lifetime access to the workshop itself along with the workbook. Again, thank you so much for watching this video, and if you do decide to join us for the workshop, I know it will have an incredible impact on the success of your first book.